Welcome to the third week of this presentation. In the first 2 weeks, we were discussing about the internet as a medium of communication. Then the second week, we were talking about the relationship between a digital medium and the society. We discussed a lot about the communication process within the system and its relationship, institutional relationship and individual relationship. We have seen many concepts and theoretical frameworks on computer mediated communication, online communities and digital media and society and individuals and the relationship, power and state power and commercial power, capitalistic power, how the multinational agencies are monopolizing the medium for commercial benefits as well as for the government influence over, dominance over the platform. So that's the beginning of this course. Now we are moving towards how far this technology enabled medium is a popular among the population, among the users, among the within the country, or we can compare it to outside country also. In this presentation, we are talking about the popularity, the penetration level of online and digital platform in the Indian context. Last 25 years, I think 1994-95, we got a internet connection. By 2020, we are completing 25 years of experience with the online medium, internet platform, cyberspace. We started the tech, if you look at the historical level, we started with a very rudimentary communication network through telephone connectivity router. Then we need to dial the ISP, then we'll get the connectivity. Then the connectivity, the earlier period was very slow. Primarily it's a text based because it was the maximum capacity was few kbps. But whereas in 2020, we are talking about 1 Gbps or more than that with multiple internet service providers, either through wired connection or through wireless. Particularly in Indian context, we are more prone to, or we are more familiar to the wireless technology based internet connectivity, be it in your mobile based or it's through broadband connectivity through optic fiber or through public hotspots. In Indian context, the wireless is more prominent compared to the wire connection, the broadband connection part. And if you look at the 2020 data, nearly 650 million people are connected to the internet. That translated into around 51-52% of Indian populations are having internet connection. This remaining 48 or 49% are not yet connected, but this is not a standardized percentage across the country. It varies from the city to the city, urban, rural, within the gender based, male and female, education level, economic status. So if you look at this, if you apply the many socio-economic or socio-demographic factors into the internet penetration, you will find wide variety of the access. Some of them might be having a highest level of access. Higher the access, better the benefits you are getting. Lower the network connectivity, lower the skill, and smaller in the technological gadgets, smaller in the sense technological gadgets, and automatically it reduces the opportunities and it prevents the people who are having that kind of lower end technological means with the limited skills and competencies, they'll get affected. They may not get the benefit that part. So within the country, within the community, you will find different levels of access. This we can call it as a digital inequality. Earlier we used to call it as a digital divide. The digital divide is a binary concept. Binary in the concept, in the sense the people who have access, who haven't got the access, haves and have nots. But we have moved much beyond that basic concept of digital divide, where in the Indian context, the present scenario, I was telling about 52% of internet penetration. Within the next 2-3 years, it was anticipated that it may go up to 75% of the Indian population will have a net connection. Reason is 92% of the Indian populations are having a mobile connectivity, and a large chunk of them using a smartphone. With data access, the economy of the monthly affordability, the economical affordability of the data access is going down drastically with the private and public competition in the service providers. With affordable handsets, particularly mobile handsets, and with affordable data connectivity, and nearly the mobile penetration is already 92%. 1.2 billion connections are currently available as per 2020 data, TRI data. Similarly, the connectivity with the mobile with internet connectivity is going tremendously. That is one of the reasons why then the next 3 years time we may reach 75% of internet penetration in India. Currently we are second to the China. China has the highest number of users, India the second one. But that the mobile connectivity or computer or internet connection, that may be a standardized platform, but there are many more factors affects the access and then usage, then outcome of this medium. So these are three primary variables, these are the three primary factors through which we can study how best this platform is popular, penetrated, used by the common people. So that's a digital inequality. The presentations we had this and the next presentation, both we're talking about digital inequality from multiple perspective, tracing the last 25 years of experiences with handling the internet platform. Particularly, we'll try to contextualize the international understanding in the Indian context. The presentation is being divided into multiple segments and definition of digital inequality, and digital inequality over the period of time, how it was interpreted in the earlier period of time as it was called as digital divide. Over the period of time, what are the metamorphoses, what are the changes happened in this concept of penetration, access and usage. Then the discipline approach, what are the disciplines approaching this digital inequality and what are their primary focus. Then we are going to the second presentation, we are going specifically about the importance of economic factors, gender, aging and rural urban context, in which we can understand the digital inequality context. Then what are the implications of digital inequality? What are the efforts are being taken internationally and nationally to bridge the gap between the higher level of access and the lower level of access in terms of access, use and outcome. So these are the broad outline of this presentation. We'll go specifically to the digital inequality. In terms of definitions, there are digital divide as is, we are using from the beginning. Now it's being called as a digital inequality, but basically there is a divide. That's why we call this inequality. The divide within the community, within the society, within the country, or maybe you can compare it in a national context, in a regional, South Asian context, Asian or a different continental context. But we can differentiate the people's the level of penetration of medium in the society can be differentiated in three primary factors: access level, the use and outcomes. Globally, if you look at the data according to the UN agency, around 3.2 billion people are using the internet. That's a 2020 data, according to the International Telecommunication Union. But equally, roughly around 4.3 million people who are not connected, and about half of them lives in India and China. Understand that what is the size of the populations are connected and what are the size of the population are disconnected. And we have, in Indian context, we have substantial number, and half of the population, particularly in Indian context, in 2020 data, as per 2020 data, we have half of the population connected, half of the remaining population is not connected. So this is a global scenario, and we go specifically to particular definitions. The digital divide or digital inequality for the different period of time and different factors like access, use and outcome basis, we can divide it into 3 levels of divide. The first level of digital divide refers to the physical access to computers and internet, haves and have-nots. This is a very simple binary divisions, and there was no much interpretation is being applied in the initial period, and that's why it's called as a first digital divide definitions, haves and have-nots. Internet access doesn't mean that they are all equally successful in their use of the internet. There is no guaranteed overall one definition for all. That's not possible, because once internet is being provided doesn't mean that everyone and whoever got connected accessing internet on a similar level and similar usage, similar outcome. That's not guaranteed, because there are multiple variables, multiple factors playing a crucial role in controlling the access, use, outcome. So that's a drawback with the first digital divide definition. That's why the second digital divide level comes. Second level of divide, it is also called participation gap and usage gap. Internet access is provided, but there is a substantial gap in terms of participation, in terms of usage. So that's being called as a second level of divide. The inequalities in participation based on digital skills as well as demographic factors. We are going to take up these demographic factors separately, individually in the next presentations. In the third divide, the third divide, access, skills and use also turn out not to be sufficient to characterize the internet use. There are inputs, there are crucial ones are particularly about outcome. You have access, you have usage, but what is coming out of that usage? What is coming out of the access? And how for individuals or institutions or the community using the ICT based technological platform, and what's the outcome is coming out in terms of education, in terms of economic output, in terms of social interconnectivity, like that. But that also not equal. So the outcome from the access, from the usage, that's being called as a third level of digital divide. The what sort of groups, what sort of people are using internet and why they are using this internet, whether they are using it for their personal learning purpose, educational purpose, or is it they are using the platform to fulfill their information seeking? Are they using this platform for productivity and any other activity that enhance their income and influence? So that these are the 3 primary level of digital divide. Then there is another categorization of digital divide, and here there is a definition called first level of digital divide. That's more or less similar way that the binary based divisions. The digital divide encompasses difference in both access, having and not having that. Then second level of digital divide, that's what earlier we saw, that the usage level. But the usage level, we can call it as a second level of digital divide, can be further divided into 2-3 options, 2-3 subdivisions. One, there is a difference. This is the digital inequality talking in terms of globalized context, not within the society or within the country there. There is a difference in terms of inequality, in terms of divide between industrialized countries and developing countries. There is a global divide. Then there is a various socio-economic groups within the single nations or states. That's called social divide. Internationally, that's a global divide. And if you come to the national level, still you can find the social economic groups, various social economic groups within the single nation also. There is a divide, you can see that, divide and inequality. That's called social divide. The third level, different kinds of users with regard to their political engagement on the internet. That's a democratic divide. And there is no guarantee that the people having a mobile connection, people having a internet connection with a better data access, with substantial educational understanding and affordability, but there is no guarantee that they will participate in the political engagement. Many of them just they'll observe the activities happening in the nearby environment or in the national context. Their contribution is many times, many levels, and very minimal context. We will take up this kind of participation, engagement of different sections of the society with the internet, particularly on political, non-political and civic engagement and participation. In the later part of this course, we will have a separate, having a separate unit, and we will have a separate discussion on the engagement and participation in the civic and political, non-political engagement. But primarily in the social divide, the digital divide and digital inequality level, if you compare the international level, there is a global divide. If you compare within this country, if you compare the different communities in society, there is a social divide. And if you compare the individuals, global and national, and come to individual, there is a global divide, social divide and democratic divide. The last democratic divide talking about the difference in terms of users' engagement with the internet medium, particularly for political engagement part. So this is one type of definition, categorization of digital divide or digital inequality. Yet another set of divisions happened in the discourse of digital inequality over the period of time. This is we have seen the usage, access, use and outcome, then global divide, social divide and democratic divide. Now we are going to discuss about the two primary level of digital inequality, horizontal inequalities, horizontal digital inequalities and vertical digital inequalities. Horizontal perspective, horizontal digital inequality means that deals with the quantitative dimension of digital inequality, such as the quantum of ICT infrastructure and its affordability and its accessibility at the individual level, national level and international level. The horizontal perspective talking about the quantum of the facilities, technological infrastructure and affordability and accessibility. That's called horizontal perspective. Then we have vertical digital inequality. Whereas in the vertical perspective, that inequality deals with the qualitative dimension of digital inequality. It can be interpreted as in terms of competency, skill, usage and outcome of the usage. So that primarily we all are interlinked. If you look at the first digital divide, access, use, outcome, that goes as a qualitative terms. If you take it in an infrastructure level, that goes in a horizontal perspective. Horizontal is a quantitative inequality and vertical is a qualitative inequality. In a qualitative inequality, we're talking about competency and skills and usage. That leads to the outcome part. Then we have seen the multiple categorization, multiple definitions of digital divide and digital inequality. And these are not happen in the same time, but over the period of time, multiple scenarios being scrutinized, evaluated, monitored, then they recommended different set of definitions. If you look at the time period, because the last we have 25 years of experience with the digital medium. The 1995 to 2000, that's the primary period, that's when the internet was introduced in many national contexts, in Indian context as well as. In the earlier period, the majority of the discussion about the internet technology, ICT based technology or IT based technology, discussion happened around physical access to ICT infrastructure, horizontal perspective, 95 to 2000. But 2000 to 2005 and the discussion about the penetration level, digital divide and popularity of the technology among the society, we move on to qualitative perspective. There is a vertical digital divide. So 2000 to 2005 talking about competency, skills, that dominated the entire discussion on that. Then we, in the last one decade, we are focusing more on the outcome level and the usage of ICT for the public as well as private purposes. Primarily in the entire 25 years of internet history, if you look at from the digital divide and digital inequality period, we can divide into three eras, three periods. The initial period, we were talking about the quantitative level of the availability of the infrastructure, 95 to 2000. In 2000 to 2005, we were talking about the usage, the qualitative perspective. In the last 10 years, we are talking about the outcome level. So, how far this technology helping the different social institutions. This is the international understanding. When you once you apply this perspective in Indian context, we have all the three perspective. We haven't completed any particular period. Some of the developed countries, they went beyond the binary digital divide. They are not talking about digital divide, they are talking about digital inequality in terms of usage and outcome. But in Indian context, still we need to discuss about access, because half of the populations are yet to be connected. We need to discuss about the usage. Once they move on to the platform, then what sort of issues they are coming out, what sort of competency and skills required to access the appropriate information, media literacy and digital literacy, that needs to be contextualized. That also needs to be contextualized in our discussion about digital divide and digital inequality. Of course, the people already part of the platform, digital platform, they may have substantial experience of dealing with the platform. So, we need to focus on the outcome also. So, in the different context, different population segment, the digital divide and digital inequality in Indian context, all the three perspectives are applicable in Indian context: access, use, outcome. We haven't gone to the second and third level, because still we have the first level of digital divide issue, we have the second level of digital divide issue, we have third level of digital divide issues. All the three levels are existing, needs to be explored and needs to be contextualized, and a lot of understanding is required in order to overcome the issues of each level of digital divide part. If you look at the understanding and the scrutiny of all the three levels of digital divide, or either in the quantitative level or in the qualitative level, horizontal or vertical digital divide or digital inequalities, these issues are being scrutinized from multiple academic perspectives. For example, access to communication technology and the usage of ICT tools are mostly studied from the media studies discipline. Perception, motivations are focal points from the psychological perspective. Inequality and its related issues from the sociological point of view. And if you look at that, the competency, skills, that's what we are talking more in the usage and the outcome level. Once the ground is clear, where the penetration is more popular and higher the rate of penetration, better level of computing mobile devices and lower the data access plans. If that is being discussed, then we have to move on to the inequality, and more specifically that the curriculum, educational intervention is required in order to deal with the usage and outcome inequalities. Because usage is based on the competency and skills, better the competency, better the skills, along with the other socioeconomic factors going in comparison with the computing and the data access plans, then that's a substantial outcome comes in different sector social institutions that will complement, that add or then enhance the individual's living standards as well as the social context as a national contribution as well as that's one of the recommendations or one of the perspective from the educational interventions, inculcating and providing media and information literacy, particularly in the educational context, incorporating the digital literacy, information literacy and media literacy in the school curriculum and enabling the youngsters and school children to adapt to the new technology based platform and using it appropriately, accessing it in a very relevant manner, use it appropriately and expect relevant outcome for their own benefit, and that benefit translate to the collective benefits for the society or the nation. So, we will look into so far we have seen about the different definitions, different levels of digital divide existed or existing in a different context, and we studied about the horizontal vertical perspectives. Then we move to the different time period and the discipline perspective of digital divide. The next presentations will take up the individual factors, the economic factors, aging, gender, rural, urban, and what are the efforts are being taken in the international level or national level to bridge the gap. That we will take it up next presentation. Thank you.